The consulting firm American Defense International. He's also the author of The New Terrorism and served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army and Deputy General Counsel of the Navy. Thank you so much for joining us, Fan.
Anne-Marie, great to be with you.
So listen, were these airstrikes the right thing to do? Were they enough to cripple the Assad regime's use of chemical weapons?
They were the right thing to do, and I would say they only degraded it for a while. But I do think it was the right thing for this president to show not only Assad that there are red lines that will not be crossed with this president, but here's something else, Anne-Marie, that really probably hasn't gotten much attention, but I think did play very much and weigh into the president's calculus on making this decision, and that's Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un has been brought to the table to discuss denuclearization. That is historic, and he was watching what we did or didn't do here. So I think the president was also sending a message to Kim Jong-un as well as Bashar Assad that red lines will not be crossed with this president, and that was very important.
So red lines will not be crossed, though there certainly seems to be two very different narratives coming out, or depending on who you listen to. We just heard from Sergei Lavrov. He has a completely different narrative. The Russians say, there was no success here. This was not a case of mission accomplished. There are video reports showing Syrians out in the streets in Damascus after the strike celebrating their government. So what do you believe happened here? Is this mission accomplished?
Well, I would not have used that phrase. And Anne-Marie, isn't it amazing that the foes of both Russia and Syria, they always tend to gas themselves or poison themselves? I mean, we've seen this movie so many times. The proof is there. Carla Del Ponte, the former Attorney General of Switzerland, actually headed a tribunal of the United Nations, and she said over a year ago that there's more than enough evidence to convict Assad of war crimes. There was also something called the Joint Investigative Mechanism. This was an outfit of the United Nations that went around documenting all the evidence of violations of international law, the use of chemical weapons. It was there, and lo and behold, guess who voted the one outfit, the one country on the Security Council that would not allow this body, the Joint Investigative Mechanism, to continue, that had the proof? It was Russia.
Last year when the president gave the order to launch missiles after a similar chemical strike, the strike was celebrated. But then, in the aftermath, the discussion was about a follow-up strategy that the strike alone wasn't good enough. And these missile strikes, these most recent ones, shed very little light on President Trump's Syria policy. We know that the main goal of U.S. troops there is to defeat ISIS. But if Assad continues launching chemical weapons on his own people, the U.S. may be drawn further into an escalating conflict. So, if you were to give advice to this administration, what would you say that this administration needs to do to address this problem moving forward?
Yeah, anyone who looks at the history of Syria, Anne-Marie, will come to, I think, understand that the phrase constant turmoil best describes it. It's a quagmire, and we need to be very careful that our involvement does not escalate. I would propose a three-pronged strategy focused on Russia, focused on Iran, and focused on Assad. A strategy designed to divide them and also so that they would actually have to focus on their own problems. I would go after Assad as a war criminal, and there are things that we can do. Look at what Sweden and Germany are already doing right now to prosecute Syrian war crimes in those countries, and even the Swiss government has gone after Rafat al-Assad, Bashar Assad's uncle and former vice president. Iran has also been the great enabler of the nuclear threat in North Korea. They've got forces on the ground in Syria. I think that also weighed into the decision-making process. But so many of our Arab allies have had it with Iran. 11 of them have gone to the United Nations and come forward calling them a state sponsor of terrorism. And then Russia. They have been AWOL. There was a 2013, Anne-Marie, a 2013 Security Council agreement that all of these chemical weapons manufacturing facilities were supposed to be destroyed. What happened to that? What happened to the monthly inspections? What happened to the reports? I would focus on that three-pronged strategy. If I were advising the president, have a three-pronged strategy designed to divide and create friction among Putin, Assad, and Iran, and let each one have to focus on their own problems.
Van Hib, all fascinating bits of advice. Certainly the missile strike was the beginning and not the end of what's going to be taking place in Syria. Thank you so much.
Great to be with you.